Okay. Are you recording this as well?
Yes,
Like,
this is being recorded for quality insurance purposes.
I mean, like facially, so I can make sure. Like, do I need to get my computer sitting upright?
You're fine. But yes,
Uh,
I'm recording
I don't.
facially.
I don't think I'm fine. I gotta show my muscles. Hold on. Give me a second.
What the? Oh, okay. So this month is self-discipline because everybody got New Year's resolutions and stuff. So this month we're talking about self-discipline. Next month will be self-esteem. The next month self-care, etc., based on the needs of the season. So within the month, every week, there's a different thing we're focusing on. So the first week of January, first you need to get started. That's the first thing in self-discipline.
Mhm.
This week, we're focusing on consistency. So when I was thinking about consistency, I kept thinking about you. And the reason is because, of course, I've known you since college, but I've known a stark, shift in the way you move lately.
Yeah. U-turn.
And then it's just in multiple areas. It's not only just with your business, but it's with fitness, it's with health, it's with spirituality, all types of stuff. And so I felt like I really wanted to talk to you about consistency because to do what you're doing at the level that you're doing it requires a lot of consistency. And so first I want you to talk about your story and your journey to where you're at now and what brought you there.
Yes, I mean my story is it's pretty unique. As you know, I lost both my parents in high school, and I had to put myself through college and that whole thing. And then I got to this place of corporate America, which I thought was like I made it. Like I was making more money than my parents thought about making. So like that was it for me. And then 2 years into it, I really didn't like what I was doing, and I was like, I worked my ass off to get this, and I'm 24 and not happy. So like there has to be more kind of to life than just this job that I was looking
Right? I talked
for.
about that in my first video
Yeah.
that I put out. I was like, life after corporate, because it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And
Right.
then,
And I mean for broke black kids, right, that was the dream, right? Until we got
uh-huh,
there, and then it's like, oh, this is it. Like
yeah,
so that was that self-realization. You realize you're not even 25 yet, and you don't know what you want to do. So for me, I just started like casually reading, and I'm gonna be frank with you. I didn't read at all. Like I don't think I read any in college. I just like found the notes.
exactly.
Yeah, but so I started reading, and I'll never forget. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad because people kept
Hmm.
literally referring it to me, and I read it once, finished it at work. Then I read it again the next day, and then 2 weeks later, I put in my 2 week notice. Because that book kind of just opened my eyes to like, holy crap, there's a lot more to this world than this race of going to work,
Yeah,
going to sleep, going to work, going to sleep. Here come the weekend, spend all my money, and then repeat. So
yeah,
that was a big shift for me.
gotcha. So, how did you start? Like, like that's a big jump in the leap of faith. You put in your 2 weeks notice. What happens in that interim? Because I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm just gonna quit my job today and life's gonna be good. Like, no.
Right, and like when I say I quit, it was a very calculated step, right? Like I knew how much money I had saved. I had some side income coming in, so
Okay.
honestly I knew that if I didn't make $1 for a year, that I was gonna be broke.
Yeah.
So I gave myself a runway, but it was nerve wracking. Like the first day I woke up without a job, I had to like handcuff myself to the bed so I could get my job back. That first week was real rough, but after that, you realize like I have 24 hours of my day to do whatever I want, and as
Mhm.
long as, long as I do the right thing, then everything should be fine. But
Mhm.
but yeah,
Okay. So, have you ever struggled with consistency?
yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like consistency is not cute, right? Like consistency is could be monotonous, it could be boring, it's repetitive,
Yeah.
but it's is integral into everything that we need to do to be successful. Um, there's a quote that says, "Motivation gets you started, consistency gets you to your destination." Right. So you're
Mhm.
motivated to get started, but you have to be consistent. So
Yeah.
I realized that, I knew how it was, so I started making consistency a priority.
And then like, so what practical ways did you do that? Like, you just decide in your head one day, like, okay, I need to be consistent? Or like, was it that drive of, if I'm not consistent, I don't eat? Like, what was that for you?
I mean, it comes back to self-discipline, right? I mean, I think that in order to be consistent, you have to first want to, but then you have to schedule your lifestyle in ways that will allow you to be consistent. I think consistency starts from a place of self-discipline, and then it ends in a place of you have to schedule your important tasks out in order to be consistent. So for me, like I said, going to the gym is something that it's a must that I'm consistent at doing. So I make sure I do it in the first thing in the morning, because that means that there's a finite amount of things that can come up and stop me from going to the gym. Another thing that I'm consistent with is reading every day. And I read right before I go to sleep, and the book is right in my bed. So I make sure I'm consistent in that regard. So I think consistency comes to a place of putting it in your schedule as if it was a client meeting, right? And making sure you follow suit the same way.
You done took the tip out of my first video.
What was that?
I had just put a video up talking about the 4 tips to finally master consistency, and the first thing was like, plan it. So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
That means you got some good tips then.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. But yeah, so that was it for you. Like, that's how you've been able to maintain this, is mainly building a lifestyle and around it and planning it essentially.
Yeah, I think it's just like building any habit. It needs to become a part of your identity. So if you identify with being an athlete, then you need to look the part. If you identify with being a reader, you need to look the part. If you identify with being a business owner, you need to look and act the part. So I think that consistency comes when you make it a part of your identity.
I like that. Make it a part of your identity. Okay, cool. Question: have you ever felt like giving up though?
So it got hard, but I never felt like giving up, because honestly, I don't want to dissuade anybody from, working a job. But for me, giving up is going back to work. And I know that feeling of hating Monday. So to answer your question, no, I never felt like giving up, because I was so scared of going back to work. I refuse to do that again, right? Like I'll be homeless before I go get a job again. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, giving up was never really an option.
Gotcha. What would you say to anybody else that's struggling with consistency, or even getting started for that matter? Like, how would you encourage them?
Yeah, so I would encourage them to, the biggest thing is not beating yourself up, right? So when you start something, right, you're gonna fail in some capacity, whether it's being consistent, going to the gym every day, being consistent, doing something you're supposed to do every day. You're gonna miss a day, you're gonna fail, but the thing is, don't make it all or nothing. Like, either I'm all the way consistent or I'm not. Just let the lows happen. Just try not to let it happen 2 days or 3 days in a row. So I think it comes from a place of understanding that failure is a possibility, but not letting that stop you.
Okay. Well, can you brag on yourself a little bit? Can you just talk about like where it's gotten you,
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it's like a snowball, right? So once you start consistency off, it's hard to get the ball rolling. But once you see the results, it's addictive. You know what I'm saying? So once you see the results are addicting. So all you really have to do is get yourself to a place of seeing the first reflection of results, right? And once you get to that first level of seeing your results, it kind of takes care of itself after that. And I hate to keep using the gym analogy, but once you see that first ab, you're like, oh, it's a wrap. Like, you should have shown me this, right? And just like business, like once you make your first profit, like once you sign your first client, like that feeling is so addictive and so exhilarating that consistency won't become that much of an issue, because you know what the result is going to be.
Yeah. And then, so like, okay, you started off like doing financial planning for individuals. Then next thing you know, and I wanted to help out. But then next thing you know, you went to businesses, and then I was like, dang, I can't afford you. I'm just like, bruh, like, what's going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just the tale of entrepreneurship, right? Like, you never know where your business is going to take you. Sometimes you got to go with the flow. There's two ways to find your niche, which I think is like the number one aspect of business. If you want to be successful in any capacity, you have to find your niche. So you can either find your niche or your niche can find you. And for me, it just kind of found me, and I kind of backed into it, and it's been a blessing. But nothing I have done or will do would be possible without the consistent habits that I put into my life every day. Like the moments that came, I wouldn't have been ready for if I wasn't consistent about reading, researching, developing, mastering all the aspects of business or personal development that I have in the past couple of years.
Gotcha. And then you've been featured on the news. You've been going around on media tours, talking to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, God be working. What can I say?
Okay, you got a whole team employing people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, so again, I think this comes down to the place of consistency, right? I've seen what being consistent can do for me, and be even more consistent in my habits and my personal development, right? So like now it's almost like a game. Like, I got here and I was like, well, if I double down on what I was doing before, now where can I go? So I think that, man, like the self-discipline piece is it's not that hard. It's just doing it, right? Like, I think people think that you're going to want to do it every day, and that's a huge misconception, right? Like, every day I'm wake up want to. No, some days you're gonna wake up and not want to do that shit at all, but you have to do it anyway.
Gotcha. What's the next steps for you?
In what regard?
Like, where are you trying to take your business now? Like, what goals are you trying to hit?
Well, I mean, obviously every business has revenue goals, and I don't really like leading with those, but I mean, I want to get to a place of where I'm helping 100 plus clients, right? And I'm really feel like I'm making a difference, and I'm able to, employ people because, give opportunities they wouldn't have normally had. And, when I started my business, it was just like, I just want to make money, or, I want to make more than what I was making working. And now that I've surpassed that, it's like, okay, well, now what's the next goal? And for me, it's just continuing to bring value to the people's lives that I'm currently bringing value to.
How many years did it take you to pass what you were making in corporate?
So that day I'll never forget that day. So I quit my job in July 15th of 2017. So February of 2018, which is 7 months later, give or take 7 months later, was the first month that I made the same amount I would make from a month standpoint at work. So I made X amount of dollars a month of work. That February of 2018 was the first month that I had matched my compensation at my employer, which was a huge thing, right?
Right.
And then at the end of 2018 was when I had surpassed the amount of money that I made at my job. So literally like the second year in business.
Come through. And then last thing I want to leave out with is, okay, how can we support you? Where can we find you at? Like, social media wise.
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, is cofieldadvisors.com. Advisors is spelled ADVISORS. Or you can just go to Instagram and type in Cofield_advisor. I'm always giving away as many free tips, as many free courses, as many free material, free resources as I possibly can. So if you go to my Instagram handle and go to my link in my bio, you'll literally see all the free stuff I have. So hopefully that'll be a resource.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I love what you're doing with this. Keep it up. Be consistent. Consistency is everything. I look forward to seeing, what you're going to do, the amazing things you're going to do.
Oh, thank you. And hopefully one day millions of people see this video. So there's that.
Right. Pay it forward, right? So yeah, we're gonna wait for that.
All right, cool.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and talk to you soon.
So,
real quick, can you turn your video off and turn it back on? You're frozen.
Okay.
I mean, this space is I'm trying not to laugh.